This is the first group interview on this channel. I invited 3 writers from my tiny book writing group. You will hear Rachel, Delphine, and Rich. They've all been writing their own tiny book. Rachel has been writing about building a small, beautiful business. Rachel has been writing a book about productivity, and Delphine has been writing a book about health and well-being. Now, in this conversation, I didn't ask them, we don't talk about what we do in the tiny book writing group. I asked them about the challenges that they're facing, how they are approaching the project, how they're writing, where do they get the ideas, for example, and when do they write, where do they find the time to write their own books. So if this is, if you're an author, an aspiring author, or if you're simply a writer who wants to publish a tiny book, well, this conversation is for you. And if you want to join us in the group, it will be open again in September, on the 1st of September. It's a space where you can feel less alone. If you want to write a tiny book, it's a space where we connect, we give feedback to each other, we bounce ideas off each other, and we support each other in our writing. Now, the link is below to join the group. There is a 10% discount if you're on my private email list on Substack, Better Writers. If you join before the 22nd of July, 2025, today I'm recording this in the 17th of July. All the links are below. Get ready now. I hope you will enjoy the conversation. It's story time. All right, let's start chatting about your projects, your books. You've all been writing books at this point. So what's your...
Well, starting.
You're starting. Okay.
Starting.
What's the... So the first question that is the same question that I think I've asked you a million times is, what's your book for and what it is for? So maybe we can go through that question one by one. Oh, by the way, if at any time you feel you want to add anything, or there's something that you disagree with, or don't feel that you need to wait for my question. You can talk at any time. Italians are great at interrupting each other, as you, Delphine, you probably know.
Yes.
Okay, so who's your book for and what it is for? Maybe I'll call Rich. What do you think?
Sure. So my book is about my business. I've been speaking to entrepreneurship classes where I went to university, and I thought I could develop what I've been talking to them about into a book. So a friend of mine mentioned to me one day that it sounded like what I was trying to do was build a small, beautiful business, and I've adopted that. And so far there's been interest from the entrepreneurship classes I spoke to about it, and I'm trying to develop that into a memoir of sorts of how I got from being an engineer to being an entrepreneur.
How many memoirs have you read, Rich?
I don't know, maybe a dozen.
Dozen. Okay, because we know you read. I don't know how many books you've read.
He's the reader.
The reader and the like. I'm impressed. I told you this already, by your ability to make connections between. I don't know how you remember all those things that you've read. So you read a book about engineering, and then you've got a book about philosophy, and there's a connection. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I've been thinking too much for a long time. So I've been reading like this from when I was a kid. So somewhere there's a book. There's that tiny book has been inside me a long time. So I've got little notebooks and things. So I've been thinking about these connections for a while. So they're not at random.
Okay. But do you take notes when you read? Like, do you...
I do. Yeah, I have a Kindle. I used to read a lot with Kindle, and I had highlights, and I'll often go back to my highlights to as sort of a refresher on a book that I've read. Okay. Or I'll look at the notes and underlines and margins of other books I've read. So I'm actively making connections between books as I read, and I'll go back and forth to older books I've read.
So it's a thing, and it's an intentional thing. It's not something that just happens.
Yeah, it doesn't just happen.
Okay.
But it must be a part of you, though, to do that.
Yeah, seems that way.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Delphine? Who's your book for and what it is for?
Okay, so it's so my book is for people who are tired of struggling to have health,
Me?
and everybody, and the book is sort of a celebration of simplicity, and that simplicity can be a very valid way to achieve health and, well-being. And often we've been taught that that it's complicated, to have health. You have to go to a gym, you have to follow a certain regime. You have to go, you have doctors, hospitals, nutritionists, supplements. There are so many things that revolve around the world of health and well-being. And I think a lot of people are very confused about it all. And we tend to always want to look outside of ourselves for a solution.
Hmm.
And so this book helps the reader come inside to where health already exists. And the book aims to show, to highlight that there are simple solutions to coming into a state of well-being.
Okay, that's something that I've told you already. It's something that I want to find out. I want to learn more about for sure. Okay, and Rachel, what about you?
Sure. So I'm writing a book about a practice called the heroic minute. It's basically one little practice. It literally takes actually less than a minute that you do in the morning. Basically, you stop using your snooze button. But it's a practice that was developed by a Catholic saint and a priest called Jose Maria Escriva. And yeah, basically the book is all about how to make it a part of your life and what it can do for you, how it can give you more time, and yeah, just make you more reflective about your own life. I would say, when I first started writing this, I thought this book was really kind of good for young adults because they kind of have a little bit more freedom in their lives. People with the kids, like, sometimes your life is dictated by kids' schedules and that sort of thing. But as I've kind of written it and talked to more people about it, it seems like there are a lot of people in different walks of life, with kids, maybe retired, etc. Just people who want to carve out more time in their day and maybe have a little bit more discipline in their day. I think it will speak to a wide range of people, a wider range than I anticipated. So.
Okay, and this is for all of you. This is the first book that you've written, right? That you're writing.
Yes.
So, how's it going? How's it going? Like first time authors of a tiny book. By the way, Rachel, you've already got. I think we can say this. We've already got a contract with a.
Oh, no contract, but I have been talking to a publisher about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, not a
Yeah.
contract yet. Okay.
No.
So yeah, how's it going with the writing of your books? Is it hard, difficult? Just general impressions. What does it feel like? Like this, I'm throwing a question out there. Yes, Delphine.
I'll start because I was stuck for quite a whole month, I could say. I was stuck just because it's a new experience for me, also being inside of a group. It's a great experience, but at the same time, it's not something that I'm used to. So, when I have to, in the group, you kind of have to become a little bit vulnerable and show your work and take feedback. And it's all really great and has helped me a lot. But at the same time, I was a little bit confused. So for about a month, I felt stuck. But yesterday, I started writing again. So that was really good. And I think what helped was that idea of creating a sentence. A sentence that describes what the book is about. And so that got things moving again. So again, that kind of fits in with the idea that sometimes there's a simple solution. So a simple sentence got
Ah,
things moving again for me. So I was very happy yesterday about that things have started up again.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were stuck because you
Mm.
felt that you lacked focus, like you didn't know
Yes.
where you were going with your story, with your writing.
Yes. So definitely I felt maybe a bit distracted, had lost focus. Also, at the beginning, I was getting a different feedback, and it was giving me a new or presenting a new way to look at how to write the book that I had not previously thought of. And so that added this other aspect to it. And so I'm in this phase where I'm trying to redefine how I want to go about writing the book.
And I know that you
Yeah.
also had a draft before,
Yes.
and
Yes, I did.
so it's a constant. Maybe this is because you felt stuck. Because you kept changing your mind about the focus of the book. Probably, I don't know. Just asking.
Yes. Well, this book is a different book, even though it has the same title, but it's a different book completely. And also, I wrote that quite a few years ago, that first draft, and then I set it aside and didn't think about it again until, as I had mentioned before, until I found your YouTube channel. And um, a lot of my ideas have changed since then. So I'm really writing a new book
Hmm.
from the beginning, even though the title so far is the same title. And yeah, I'm getting more clear. So a month passed and I felt a little bit discouraged about it all. And I think that's the hard part when you feel discouraged, nothing's coming, you sit in front of the computer, you don't know what to write. Sometimes it just feels like you're in this blackout, kind of mode. And so that was quite frustrating. But I think the important thing is to continue maybe asking questions. Maybe I didn't ask a lot of questions before, and asking a few more questions uh, gave me new input.
Hmm.
So um, that input then helped me to, get things rolling again.
Okay. Thank you. And any comments? I don't know. Anything to add to this? Have you ever suffered from getting stuck? Who hasn't? Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say I might be in that position. But yeah, actually so right now, my book is in a stage where I need to prepare like a formal proposal
Hmm.
for a publisher. So I need to kind of polish 3 or 4 chapters, including the introduction, and like an annotated outline, a couple things like that. So that's kind of good for me because I'm pretty deadline driven and kind of, I guess, goal oriented. So it's really nice to have something very concrete. But yeah, I kind of worry about the times where it's just like, okay, you just have to finish the book, right? And you don't have a deadline because you're doing this yourself. So hopefully this process of working with a publisher helps me kind of stay on track because as I was telling Delphine, I think I've been painting more than writing in the last 2 months, so
Huh.
probably not the best idea, but we'll see how it goes.
Does that help with creativity, with generating ideas,
Oh,
painting? I mean,
yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, it maybe has not helped with output just because of the time that I'm not spending on writing. But actually doing, graphic art or visual art really helps you with problem solving, which is something I honestly never really knew until I started working with a friend who is classically trained in it. So yeah, I think it has really helped me like be able to think through some of the problems of organization and just the presentation of ideas in ways that I might not have thought about before taking that little side project on. So
okay. And once you send your proposal, then if they accept it, then you will have to work with the I think they will give you an editor or someone. and then
Yeah,
you will have
yeah.
many more deadlines, I would assume.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. That's
Okay.
that's why I'm even fielding it out to it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's how it works. I think usually it goes from like if you get accepted, then it's like you send the whole thing, and then they raise it to the ground, and you build it up again, and that sort of thing. So as the old story with working with editors. So
Okay. Okay. What about you, Richard?
Yeah. So I'll add that I think I find writing difficult, and I expected it to be that way. So it's not a surprise. Um, I'm not deadline driven. I've got my day job, and so finding an aim for this book or thinking about the structure of it, it has been difficult. I think in the end, uh, I guess the big surprise for me was feeling that where I thought the book should start, it's more likely the ending of the book. And I think for me to develop, I can develop the story of how I got to where I am and explain concepts along the way. So one of the things that's been helpful to me is just writing to this audience, the four of us, talking about things like just understanding what other people are familiar with. So I'm not looking to write the standard business book, and I'm not necessarily trying to teach other people precisely what to do. I'm not interested in writing a how-to manual. But I think the way that I've learned to look at risk and think about taking risks, I think it's interesting to entrepreneurship students or to others to see how those play out over time. So the path I took in my business, really in my career, has been about 30 years long. So I learned a lot of tricks from learning my first spreadsheet and seeing how a computer could be useful to an individual. When growing up in a generation where I went to school, we had a mainframe computer in sort of a renovated church building. So imagine a mainframe central access computer that individuals had to walk across campus to retrieve their printouts from. And then a year later, stumbling across like the first spreadsheet that existed. Like this is before Excel. So
Wow.
so finding a spreadsheet and saying, oh, this is the tool I've been looking for my whole life. That I can, it can help me do things without a lot of, it's not a specialist tool. It's a generic tool. So going from there to running sort of a multi-million dollar business, selling products on Amazon, there's a lot of steps along the way and a lot of things to be explained. So, um, so for example, just sharing with you guys earlier, I learned that not everyone knows what it means to talk about the long tail when it comes to products or niche products. So it was a book that was kind of popular, maybe 20 years ago now when it first came out, and I know that I need to go through that material and explain like what the theory of how the internet enables niche businesses to thrive. I can explain that those concepts again, and also how I use those to think about the kinds of risks I was taking. So in a way, a lot of times I'll be sort of revisiting books I read along the way. So The Long Tail was a book from around the 2000s. Nassim Taleb's books on risk, written in like 2005 to 2007, were critical in my thinking about how to structure the risks I was taking. So I've started to see how I might structure the book from this beginning process.
And do you take, like, you've got all these books that you've read, all these
Mhm.
ideas around, and how do you, how do you bring them all together? Because I know that you've been writing personal essays to clarify what you want to say, where you want to go. Is this
Right.
your way to organize your thoughts, or do
I
you
think
have?
it is in a way. I think I've kept a timeline of the books I was reading, so I could tell you what I was reading and in what order going back to like 1989.
Wow.
So in a
Wow.
lot of ways, just having that list though helps me to kind of see how my thinking developed over time. So the challenge is actually to pick out sort of the most relevant books, because almost every single book I've read gave me an idea of sorts, but filtering it down to the most important things and really picking out what's story worthy
Hmm.
is the trick now. So I think the timeline of a memoir can help, and the structure of how those ideas got layered on top of spreadsheets, and from spreadsheets being a beginning, and those being sort of a different. Spreadsheets were the original killer app. PCs weren't useful. So I in the 80s, I had this little book. It was called like 1,001 Things to Do with Your Commodore 64. And a book like that was necessary because nobody knew what to do with a personal computer. What's this for? So anyhow, I've seen how these concepts evolved over a long period of time.
When you said that you've got a timeline, I thought that I struggle to update my Goodreads, the list of books that I read on Goodreads, but you've got a timeline of everything you've read. It's
really it's just a list. So I've got a list in a spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet, of course.
Right. Exactly. And that spreadsheet's been there. It's been with me a long time. I kind of drag it along behind me.
Not a database. Okay. Just kidding.
Yep. Those came later.
And okay, so the ideas. So let's talk about ideas for the book. So where do you get them? So Richard, you get them from, you know what you want to say. It's a memoir, and you get ideas. You make connections between the things that you read. What about Rachel and Delphine? So where do you get your ideas, and how do you know, or how do you decide if an idea should be there in the book?
It's a difficult question.
Yeah, kind of tough. I guess. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Rich.
So I guess the main idea is pretty compact. That's why I actually loved your idea of the tiny book, because I was like, I can't possibly write like a 300-page book about something that takes 5 seconds, right? But I can maybe write a 200-page book about it. But I would say for me, it's a lot of observation, because this is a book that's about like the way that people live. It's kind of, you could call it a productivity book. In the Catholic world, you might call it like a devotional book, because it's supposed to spur reflection. So I got, like, for instance, I got my idea for turning this into a book by the fact that a lot of people were into these like challenges, like 75 hard. That's probably like the millennial killer right now, things like that. And so I just kind of asked myself, like, why are people so into this stuff? And that kind of spurred more writing. So yeah, I guess I tend to do a lot of observation and then kind of see where that goes. But I tend to, like we all do, we think as we write. So I tend to just write it down and cut it out if it doesn't make sense. Like I said, this is kind of it's a smaller idea, right? So it's a little bit easier, I think, to cut out the excess. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Okay. And Delphine, do you have, I don't know, a system or something?
No, I don't have a real system, but I do collect different ideas from the different activities that I do. So I teach yoga and I train horses, and I get a lot also from training horses, because there's the silent language that is there between the rider and the horse. And for instance, this idea that I have that you really don't need to put a lot of effort into things also comes from training horses, because the more you add on to the training, the less results you get, because the horse tends to feel very pressured. And so it's all about finding the right cues, the timing of the cue, and timing is very important. And so all of these different aspects of horse training do give me a lot of information. So then I bring that into the book as well. But I don't have a real system. Sometimes an idea will come into mind, and I think at that moment I have to either write it down and then go back to it later when I'm sitting in front of the computer. But I have noticed, for instance, yesterday when I started writing again, that I had a couple of different ideas, and I just wrote them down separately I had one idea, and then I had another idea, and then I had another idea. And then I started to see that it was taking shape.
Huh.
So, and then I don't know, it somehow it starts to fit together. I
Okay.
suppose that's one thing I've noticed.
Okay.
I don't know if that's very clear, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just try to add maybe one other thing, but for me,
yeah,
the filter about it being a memoir has been helpful to me because let's say I've read a lot of books, there's a lot of ideas. I might want to try to write about those or do additional research. And a memoir prevents me from needing to do additional research. I can really focus in on how particular ideas influenced me and how my life sort of turned out. So I'm hopeful that that helps me focus the writing. So, because I'd be tempted to go off and do some kind of long research project or develop a theory rather than just describe how an existing theory sort of directly affected me.
Yeah. So this comes down to who's it for and what's it for?
That's right.
Because
And I think, yeah, and in this case, it's sort of it could be useful to somebody else, as, an engineering, a student who's an engineer or in business school to sort of see how it turned out for somebody else over a long period of time.
Okay. Do you write every day? Or, I mean, I think we all think every day, hopefully.
Sure.
Do you write every day? Or by writing, I mean even jotting down things or ideas or collecting ideas or even reading. That to me is still part of writing. But let's talk about writing. Do you write every day? So do you sit down and do something to work on your book every day or not? No shame. Like it's fine if you don't do it every day. I think you should do it. You shouldn't even do it every day. But okay.
I've been writing in a journal every day for maybe the last year, and sporadically before that. I think on the book it's been less so, but I guess I'm thinking about it daily and looking at other models, things like that. So I feel like you've seen it. Like it's only in the last few weeks that I've decided that what I thought was the beginning of my story is the end, and then having only the ending, I was wondering where it began. So now that I think I have endpoints, I think I know how to. That might help me to start flesh out, how to get from point A to point B. So I hope to be writing more now that I've got that sort of basic filter. Because I think for me, the writing can come relatively freely. I just need to kind of know. I need to put bounds on it.
What about you, Rachel and Delphine?
Oh, I don't I don't work on my book every day, but I do a lot of writing every day for work. So sometimes, I'll just be a little bit mentally tired to get into the book. I definitely do a lot of writing, just longhand, in a notebook. Sometimes I'll kind of think through different areas of the book that I'm working on, but I'm not actually drafting like new copy for it. But yeah, I do a lot of note taking on things that I'm reading, or I mean, actually recently again, this is where the art is really interesting. Like every day, if I work on a painting or something like that, I'll actually like look at it, after I'm done and like write down everything I want to fix, And I was kind of like, that's an interesting practice. I should probably do that for my book too. So yeah, I do try to at least think about the book every day, but because of other client responsibilities, I don't actually get to writing because I'm just not feeling, mentally fresh enough to do it.
Yeah, I think that's important as well. Like, I don't think we should wait, wait for the muse, for inspiration. But if you're mentally tired, maybe there's no point even in trying, in pushing. But sometimes, even though you're tired and you sit down and you write, you might find that no, actually, I wanna keep going. I wanna keep going with this. I wanna keep writing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're not tired anymore. You want to work on the project. But yeah, okay. Delphine, what
so
about you?
I haven't written every day either. And I actually would like to create maybe it sounds a little bit too organized, but to have a slot during the day that I dedicate to that might be helpful to me. Just to know that from, I don't know, from 7 to 8 in the evening, I don't know, for example, I sit down and I have to close the door, and just focus. I think something like that would be helpful for me. I haven't done that. So I think that's another reason that my focus has dissipated a bit, because I haven't dedicated a real moment to that, so just as I would with other things. And, like when I practice yoga, or if I'm training horses, I know that I go from a certain time to another time. And of course, even when I'm training a horse, for instance, maybe I won't be able to, during that time, maybe I won't be able to achieve what I planned on achieving, but something will come out of it. It may be less than what I expected or more than what I expected. And so I think that I would like to bring that structure to my writing, and create a specific time of the day, which doesn't mean that I can't write at other times, but I know if I have that one time, that block of time that I can come to, it would be very helpful for me. So that's what I'll work on next. Now that I've mentioned that.
Yeah. Like developing a practice.
Yes, exactly. Just like a meditation practice, or painting, the time that you paint, you do have a moment that you sit down. You do have some structure. And so I think that's something that's very valuable, and I want to develop that.
If I didn't have this practice of reading, I'm talking about reading now, because I read books because I have to force myself to read them, because I have to sit down and say, okay, I need to do it. I need to do it half an hour, at least half an hour in the morning or in the evening, but it's kind of non-negotiable, and that's how I read books. Otherwise I would, okay, today is not it's not reading day. Tomorrow, if I have got time, no, it's like having breakfast. I would never skip breakfast. So it's and once you do it, and then it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit. And the same, I'm talking about myself now. The same thing, I did it with my second book. I wrote in the morning every day. Like, I knew that I had to wake up, and before starting the day with all the other work commitments, I had to write for at least 1 hour. But it doesn't matter if it was, I had to work on the book, and that to me was already a win. Like, it was already, I felt already satisfied by working. Maybe I didn't make a lot of progress, but I knew after that I dedicated 1 hour to it. Maybe you have only 15 minutes. I don't know. We're all busy. We all have different lives. But having that practice, that's how I think you get things done. And maybe I'm just stating the obvious here.
That routine, I think, is important. That having a routine, because it creates momentum.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's too fragmented, I find. If one day I'm working at this hour, one day I'm working at another hour. And then also there's the day takes off. Once the day takes off, it just goes all over the place. So, and then it's difficult. And as you said, that it's difficult for you to stop and read. And I find that with the writing, it's difficult for me then to stop and sit down and write or focus on that once everything has taken place. And in fact, I was telling Rachel that I can't wait until her book comes out, because I would like to get that early morning. I get up early already, but I would like to get that early morning hour like you have, Fabio, to dedicate some time. That would be good.
Okay, Rich.
Yeah, my problem is turning off the reading. but it's helpful. The way I think of it now, though, is I'm sharpening the distinctions about how I think differently than certain books I've read. So I do think of it as because otherwise, if I was just going to write the same book that everyone else writes, then what's the point? And that's in a way, in entrepreneurship, it's all about that. What makes you different?
Yeah. Though I'm now thinking about what Matthew Dix said in an interview here, but he said it many times, that a book is just a collection of sentences, and whether you have 10 minutes here and 10 minutes there, it's just a collection of sentences. You just have to write one more sentence. I know that for some people this is not makes no sense, because you need to be at least, you need to be there in a quiet room with your brain and type and, have some time to think, because writing involves a lot of thinking. But for other people is, like Matthew Dix, is normal. Like I can type I don't need to shut down the door and I don't need to have all this atmosphere. I don't need to create this atmosphere for writing. I don't know. Does this make sense? I mean, did I make myself clear?
Yes.
Makes sense.
Okay. So for you, Delphine, I guess it's not. This approach wouldn't work, probably. Writing
maybe
just
not. Maybe I'm not a natural writer, because I was thinking of what you just said. I'll take the example of training horses again. When you go, there might be a lot of things going on. Somebody's cutting the grass, or there's a tractor, or I don't know, there's all kinds of things going on. And horses can get spooked, and you need to be concentrated. But in that moment, I don't really think about the preparation of the atmosphere. I don't really focus a lot on what's happening around me. I just go in and I start working with the horse. I'm not very conditioned by that. Whereas with writing, I'm more conditioned by the outer circumstances. So, because I get hooked into, maybe a rhythm, so it's actually more difficult for me to come back, slow down, sit down, and really focus my thoughts. It is more difficult in that situation.
okay. Any suggestions on how to, even for other writers, not just here for this small group, but I don't know, writing 3 sentences when you have 3 minutes, like you're waiting for the bus and you're writing, you can still write your book while you're waiting for the bus. Could that be possible for you, I mean?
Fabio, actually, the stuff you're saying about kind of finding time and, maybe even hooking your writing practice onto something else makes me think of one way I stay in a book is, and I hate reading on my phone. I really don't like reading on e-readers and stuff like that. It's kind of like a necessary evil for me. But I do notice that when I do that, when I'm waiting for the coffee on the stove, for instance, when I'm waiting for the coffee, I do tend to finish books faster and stay in it. And what you're saying actually makes me think of one of the little points of friction is that I use a very popular app called Scrivener for writing the book. But the thing is, it's kind of clunky. It's even opening it up, and you got to bring your laptop down to the kitchen. I mean, those are very small points of friction, but they are friction, and sometimes I do wonder, what if I just put it on Google Doc and just, so I can pick up my phone and just do that. That way, at least, I stay in it every day. So maybe I'll give that a try, and I'll let you know how it works.
It happened to me a couple of times. Well, more than a couple of times, writing, while waiting for, I don't know, in the waiting room at the dentist, or just, you get an idea and you just type it there, and then when you've got time, you go back to the screen here in my room, and I can type and I can develop that. I think collecting ideas is something that you can do at any time, because capturing ideas, this is something that to me is very important. It helps me a lot. It helps me a lot when I'm, for example, when I'm running. I get a lot of ideas when I'm running. I don't know why. I think it must be something. Maybe Delphine, you know the
Yes.
science behind this. I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe the body is moving and it creates more oxygen in the brain, and you get. I don't know. I make connection when I
hmm
more connections when I'm running, and if I have my phone, I just I just record a message on ChatGPT or WhatsApp, or I just record it with the inbuilt audio recorder. Um, but that is, I think, my number one tip, I would say, one of my top tips for writers. Would you agree? I don't know. Is this something you do? Like
It's
capturing,
something I've
capturing.
Yes, I think that's a really good point because it does take some awareness because
Mm,
there's so many quick thoughts coming through, you know.
mm,
And I actually have a lot of inspiring thoughts, like you said, maybe when you're walking or running or doing different things.
mm.
Um, so it does take that moment where because sometimes I'll say, oh, I'll write it down later,
Yeah,
you
and you
know,
never do.
and
Mm,
then I don't.
yeah,
And as
Yeah.
a matter of fact, then I forget it even,
and it's
or
gone.
I really feel because sometimes I might even remember part of it, but the feeling of it is missing. So
Right.
then I forget it, and so I think that is a good idea to be more aware and write it down immediately or record it, like you said.
Yes, Rich.
Yeah, I think one of the ideas you'll hear frequently is whenever you relax, your subconscious mind kind of pops up with new ideas that you brought to it earlier, right? So for me, I try to take advantage of this by writing first thing in the morning. Often I wake up with an idea about something I was thinking about the prior day. So I try to make that my practice now. Is I write first thing in the morning,
Mm,
and I do actually have new ideas then. So these are the shower thoughts, the running thoughts, the you wake up from a nap. I think I want to say it was like Edison was famous for like taking naps and having his best ideas on waking from a nap.
mm,
So so anyhow, it's the thing I would also add to all this is I think about, like we were talking a little bit about how you structure your time.
mm,
So I like to think of my time as like 70% sort of ordinary, stable activities, 20% sort of change management, and 10% like very different things that I'm just going to try. So
mm.
most of my day is pretty routine, but like starting to write a book is part of the 10% wild flyers. It wasn't something I was really planning on doing, but the opportunity presented itself to join this group. So I took a chance. And in business, I've done things like that. So when a chance gets presented to me, I will often take it, knowing that it's a small, if it's in that 10% realm, I'm not betting everything on it, but I'm taking in new input. And then if it works, it starts to get more and more time. And if it doesn't work, then it gets set aside. So I think having time, making time for the sort of fresh input is 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 a valuable way to think of it, and it's a way to structure just how much change you can adapt to. If that makes sense.
Would you say yes to everything, or do you to every opportunity, or do you like? Because I know that there's this idea of saying yes, always say yes. There is this idea of hell yeah or no. So if it's not a super, a great idea that you can that makes you feel excited, you say no to it. But also the opposite is say yes to everything and see where that opportunity will take you. Like, how do
Yeah, I think
you?
I'm closer to the hell yeah or no
Okay,
idea. So for
okay.
me, it's but some of those moments where like the opportunity to invest in this business that I'm running now presented itself,
Hmm.
and we didn't think about it very long. It was there's this phrase, affordable loss. It was an affordable loss if it didn't work out.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh,
Joining this group I'm in of sellers, it was a few $100s to attend a meetup, and I was like, well, it's a day of my time, and so there's positive optionality. So I'm looking for things where the potential returns are great, and the loss, the potential loss is small. It's usually just a little bit of my time or just a small amount of money to see if it's going to work. So if the potential returns don't seem very high, I'm going to say no to it.
Okay.
So in a way, so the book thing has been, I've been reading for a long time. So this is a hell yeah type opportunity just because it's something I've always been interested in. But there's plenty of things I pass by on a daily basis, even in the business. I try not to chase too many opportunities,
Okay.
and it gives me time to focus on what I think is important.
And what about the future of your book? Like, what do you hope to achieve? To achieve, maybe. Yeah. What do you hope your book to do, or to, not for the reader, for yourself? I mean, like, do you have any hopes? Like, my hope, I can tell you, my hope is to inspire as many people as possible to write their own books, and then maybe it would be great to start a little movement. If the book would start, a little movement of people writing little books, and writing becomes easier for everybody. And for me, I don't know, I'm not after fame or anything, but like a movement, a small movement like this, a tiny book movement. That's it. Something like this.
A
What
large, tiny
about?
book movement.
Hmm?
A large, tiny book movement, right?
Yeah. What about you, Rachel? Like opportunities or hopes that you, except for selling copies and inspiring the readers, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. One of the points of the book is to kind of challenge like hustle culture. In
Hmm.
general, that's kind of a mainstream term that a lot of people know, but I would say maybe within Catholic circles, also kind of like guilt around not doing enough. There's a lot of guilt about not being disciplined enough. And I think sometimes people throw these big challenges, like again, the 75 hard, at issues like these, and when they could actually just, maybe take on one practice or one way of growing in discipline or controlling your will. And then they can find different ways to kind of think about their life and what they're doing in their life. And yeah, I think hopefully what that does is kind of challenge like the idea that you always have to be doing more, or that your productivity defines your value. So yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like a cliche. Everyone always says as long as one person is affected by my book, but I really do hope that it touches people.
Yeah.
Even if it's a smaller group of people, to kind of think more about how they're living their life and to feel more at peace at it with it.
Yeah, this thing of productivity. Have you read the 4,000 weeks? I think it's called, by
Ah,
Oliver 4,000 weeks. Yes, it's called. Have you
oh,
heard
I
of
haven't
that
read it.
book?
I'm familiar. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Anyway, that's a book recommendation. Rich, have you read that?
I've not read that. I've heard
Okay,
it. I think I've seen it, but it has not
okay.
crossed into my radar yet.
That's I think that's a book that you would like to read.
Hmm.
What about Delphine? What was the question? I don't remember.
What do
The
I hope to
ah, yeah, okay,
achieve? You said with the
yeah.
book. Well, first of all, I think just completing it is already a big
Ah,
completion,
yes.
because that, I mean, without going, that would be in itself just a really beautiful thing, just to have it completed. Because I still see that there's a lot of steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself is quite the achievement. And also to be able to complete something that, because it is a tiny book, so there is you know, you have to be more selective about the words that you choose and how you express yourself. So all of that is, I think, is just a beautiful.
Art. Mm.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say a piece of art, but that's exactly. And so that in itself is a big achievement. And then if then after that, if once it's completed, I'm able to help people see that that doing less first is a real practice in itself and can help people get from A to B. So in a more efficient way, in a way that's not draining, in a way that's, and like Rachel said, you know, we have this kind of hustle culture. So to help people in a way detach from that, not be separated, detach in a healthy way. You know, you see it, but you also know that there is a different way. There's a different path to get from A to B. There are really millions of ways. And this is one way. And I think, so I think that's something that I hope would inspire people, especially people who tend to easily feel overwhelmed, maybe who aren't multitaskers by nature. There, you know, there's a lot of emphasis of being able to be a multitasker, for instance, and not a lot of people can fit into that category. So I think there are a lot of people who feel left out in a way in society because they can't quite fit into that category and maybe feel less than. And also about this whole search for health. It's been made more complex than it needs to be. And so I think that's, if I can help somebody see that, that's a big achievement for me.
Brilliant. We're all connected by this idea of tiny, like
Yes.
small, beautiful business, the heroic minute, which is a tiny, what's it called? Tiny length of time. And the Delphine, yours is tiny habits, or
Yes.
saying that, you know, I don't know
It's
how to
doing
put it.
less first.
Doing
So
less
it's about,
first.
yes. Yes, it's about less. Yes.
And the small, beautiful business of Richard. So, Richard, what about you? If you could dream, let's say, like if I could dream, I would start this movement with the book. But yeah,
I'm not so sure about that. I'll start small and say just be like with Delphine. I think it was just an achievement to have written a book.
done it. Yeah.
I think there's an idea that was also it'll have to be in my book because it was one of the things I was thinking of when I quit my last job, and it was this idea that the most important story you tell is the story you tell to yourself about yourself. So in writing this memoir, I've reached a new phase of life where my business is doing well. My children have graduated from college. I'm kind of coming on into another time of life, like almost like a second career. And so I'd like to sort of really polish the story of how I got to where I am and be able to share that with other people. Because I think I've achieved something that a lot of people have interest in. I do have some friends, you know, reaching out to me over the last few months asking about, you know, how did I develop this business? They're looking for this kind of business to run in retirement, something like that. But if I were to dream about this being a movement, it would be that small business is usually sold to people as like a necessary step to being a large business, right? And that there's only really a 1% success rate on small businesses becoming valuable businesses in some real way. And I think there's much more value in small business than that. I think having a good life, being able to raise your family,
having time to read,
having time for higher values. I think all those things can be achieved in smaller businesses. I think if you were to look back 100 years, I think 100 years ago, everybody was surprised that everybody would trade in their freedom for a job. And I guess my big dream would be to show that it's possible to go back that way.
Right. Okay, guys, I think I've got only one last question. And it's this. I bolded the question, and it's, what would you say to someone who wants to write a book but keeps putting it off? Or they have this idea because you're not there anymore. Like you're doing it. So what would you say to these people? If you've got anything to say. I don't know. We can think about it.
Well, I told my friend, I have a friend. He's he's Argentine, and he actually teaches English. And he's in his 80s now. So he's almost 85. And he has a lot of experience, you know. So actually I told him, I was thinking of a friend. So I actually mentioned it to him that I was in this group. And I said, you know, Franco, you need to think about doing this because he has so much knowledge and a lot of wisdom, and he's very, he loves languages. So I've actually been encouraging him to start something. So I said to him, you know, he's getting older and it would be great for him to leave something behind at some point. So that's what I said to him specifically. And he's now thinking about it. He said, well, I'll think about it. So,
Nice.
Yeah, so that is a real life example.
Yeah, it's not too late. Of course it's not.
Yeah. Also, I did say one thing, and I got this. I did say I mentioned something that you had said in one of your videos. I think it was, yes, and that was that he need not worry if the book is good or bad. That it's not important if it's a good book or if it's a bad book. So that was something that I got from one of your videos. So I did say that to him. And then he thought about it. Of course, he would try to make it the best book ever, but that is something I said.
You can also tell him about the memoir that was written by the Holocaust survivor, Eddie Jaku. He wrote that book when he was 100 years old.
Oh, okay. Good. I will.
I'll share the link with you.
Yes.
And English wasn't even his first language because he was from Germany. He was a Jew from Germany, and it's a beautiful story. It's called The Happiest Man on Earth, the book that he wrote.
Beautiful.
Okay, so that's for your 85-year-old friend. And,
yes. Okay. Great.
Richard. Yes. Rachel. Yes. Sorry. Go on, Rachel.
Okay, sure. Well, I would say if you're thinking about writing a book, the best way to think is to write. So you might as well just start writing it. That's what I'd say.
That's it.
Perfect.
Right. Richard, do you agree?
I think it's good to start. What I can say is I guess I'm not in a position to give too many people advice, but I do give advice to my children. So I was excited to see my oldest daughter just finished reading Matthew Dix's Storyworthy book, and she read several short sentences about writing. So I gave her a 30-some year head start on my discovering some of these more approachable ideas to writing. And then where I do have a little more sway, a friend of mine is speaking to me about a business idea he had for a niche product, and I encouraged him to buy the samples and try to sell them. So take the first step.
Take the first step, just right, and no matter how old you are. That's the I think the three pieces of advice here. Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. No more questions. I think I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope that our listeners will enjoy the conversation as well. Now, I will stop recording, but don't leave. Don't leave because the program here needs to upload the thing. It will take a couple of minutes. I forgot to tell you this at the beginning. So, bye-bye, everybody. I'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're a writer and you want to improve your writing or you want to keep improving your writing, consider joining my private email list, Better Writers. I send one short email every week. I share tips, insights, things that I learn, book recommendations to help you do one thing only: become a better writer. The link is in the show notes or in the description of this video. Thank you for listening once again. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.